Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Radical Edge of HR. Of course, I'm with HR Knowledge Source. I'm your host, Tanya Hawley. Very happy to be with you once again to bring you one of those topics that you don't always talk about. So I am really excited because our topic today is It's Not a Comeback. And what does that mean? We're going to tell you in just a moment. So please join me in welcoming my panelists for today, the one and only, the magnificent, the amazing, one of our best consultants. Of course, they're all the best consultants, but she's one of our best consultants. Please welcome Miss Amma Hugs. Hey, Amma.
Hey, Tanya. Hey. Love your energy and your introduction. Thank
Thank
you.
you. It's a pleasure always having you, Amma. We always have fun. So thank you for joining me for this topic today. I appreciate you.
You're so
You,
welcome.
you are a favorite consultant. I just want to know that clients love Alma. And if you don't know, if you need some HR stuff, you better join us so you can find out too. But anyway, that's another show.
Right, like put that plug in. We're hiring. No.
little plug in, little
Right.
shout out. We just play. Anyway, everybody, thanks so much for joining us. As I said, our title today is It's Not a Comeback. And you're probably wondering, what does that mean? Especially if you didn't see the flyer. So you're right. What does it mean? It's not a comeback. So I'm going to tease you a little and then I'm going to let Alma expound on it. Has anyone ever said to you, it's time to come back to work after you've been home for COVID, working from home, and you think, I never left work, right? So that's what this show is about. What does that mean exactly? And Alma, I'm going to let you, from the HR expertise area, explain what exactly does that mean. Define it, and what it means to say that, and why we wanted to talk about it today.
Yeah, absolutely, Tanya. Thank you again. So I know a lot of people have heard that when the employer or the leader is discussing coming back to the office, right? Return
Right.
to office. I personally remember hearing that coming back from maternity leave, right? Like, oh, you came back to work. And I'm like, trust me, I've been working. But when you talk
Yes.
about working from home, there are a lot of misconceptions. And a lot of people don't realize that saying back to work is almost like a microaggression, right? It's
Mm.
subconsciously exposing what you think people are doing all day. For some reason, remote work has this connotation that you're like in a park, sunbathing and meditating. And though you can maybe squeeze that into your day, right?
Right.
The majority of people are working tirelessly when they're remote. And when they go back to the office, it's just changing their location, but not changing their
Right.
ethic or their productivity. I
Right.
actually have a statistic about this. The
Oh, okay.
actually just wrote about this today regarding
Mm.
coming back to work. And WFH, which is a company owned by an economist, Stanford alum, they do studies all over the world and they do surveys. So this survey, I'm going to read it. It says more than half of business leaders surveyed from Microsoft's 2022 Work Trend Index expressed fears that productivity had taken a hit as a result of a shift in a person's workspace. Okay. So that's what the leaders are thinking. But
Mhm.
80% of employees surveyed, and this is all over the world, said that they were just as or even more productive. So do you see the misalignment just right
Yes.
from expectations and what people feel? And so this goes back to my initial point. When leaders and business owners say, oh, well, it's time to come back to work, it's really exposing what they subconsciously feel about remote work.
Mm. And it's almost a stigma that goes with it when you say it. Now, I have to admit, I may have said that, but I meant come back to the office. I just said come back to work, meaning you think of work being the office. The word kind of goes together, work and office. At least it did.
It
It
did,
did. Right.
right?
Because, and then normally, our previous normal, when you were at work, you were in the office. There was no other. Um, there was no option.
Right.
There was no alternative. When you're at work, you're at work. When you're at home, usually on vacation or on break or whatever it is. You're not working though when you're at home. So I think some of us may be just creatures of habit, and maybe a creature of habit, just that terminology, but it's almost like it took on a new meaning now. It did take on a new meaning. Yeah.
Yes, Tanya, I remember when I first started consulting and everything was remote, and I had friends or ex-colleagues from when I was in corporate. When we would have conversations, their question was, so you work from home, what you do all day? Right? Like that was the follow-up question. And it's so
Wow.
mind-boggling because some of those same people then
Mm.
had to work from home because of COVID, and some that were frontline, or some, needed to go into the office because of their position. And so you found a change of perspective, number one, for those who
Yes.
had to then start working from home. Or for those who never, like some people will just never understand. And I
Mm.
know we're about to talk about this, but like the pressure and how much you pour yourself into your job when you
Mhm.
work from home. And some of it is
Yes.
consciously trying to compensate or prove that I am still working, even though my location might be different than it was before.
Right. And you know what I thought of when you said that is when you're at home, I'm sure you can relate to this. If you're so focused on whatever you're doing, the time can just fly. You can literally, I have literally sat at my desk the entire day without getting up. Or you forget to eat. You can forget to
Forgot?
eat.
Yes.
Yeah. If you just forget everything else basically, and you just want to finish that. And if there's no interruptions at home, like in the office, there's coworkers, and we're talking about the team, colleagues to chat with, to interrupt you, to go to lunch with, to say, come on and go with me, those kind of things. And when you're at home, a lot of times you don't have that interaction with other people that give you a break that you need. Not to mention that you do need breaks sometimes. A lot of times the breaks aren't taken. Um, and
Or think about those boundaries, right? Like you think about the boundary of physical location. So when I'm done with work, my brain knows I'm done because
right,
I get in the car, I drive home, and then I start another type of
right,
work for moms
right.
and wives
That's
and husbands,
true. That's a
right?
whole nother element.
So
Yeah.
that's another thing. Like now you don't have those transitional moments. So when you put the kids to bed, in my case, or when you are done with dinner with your significant other, it's so easy to just jump right back on,
Yes.
or finish something real quick. And so those boundaries have been muddled, and that's even more reason why saying
Mhm.
come back to work is it's a little bit of shade. I'm not gonna
It's
lie.
not an insult. It can be taken as an insult. And back to the stats you mentioned, Alma. I remember hearing this stat, not necessarily a stat, but my husband, for example, I remember his company. A lot of companies decide to stay hybrid, or to let people stay at home working as opposed to coming back to the office. And they did that. They were against it at first, but they didn't have the choice like most other companies. And they found out it actually productivity went up. So
Yes.
so people are working more and harder from home, or getting more done from home, um, which is in opposition, it sounds like, to the statistic you said from the leadership, the
How they
leaders,
feel. From how they feel. Yeah. So
how they feel, right?
so the specifics and the actual state of what work from home has done is very different than how a
Mhm.
lot of people feel, and the misconceptions. And
Right.
innovation and creativity is a buzzword that a lot of clients and leaders and business owners like to say, and this stretches us. I have to be very, very sensitive to that. Managing a hybrid team stretches us, and it
Yes.
forces us to think outside the box, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. Okay.
Right.
And it's one trend that's very clear, like the Atlantic spoke about it today, around the world. Office workers prefer the hybrid model, and that magic number that statistics are leaning towards is two. So 2 days that they can split or work from home or
Hmm.
have that flexibility, right? So
Hmm.
not saying everybody wants to do 5 days, but that hybrid model and having the flexibility and the ability is preferred, and that magic number seems to be two as of right now.
Two days at working from home and 3 days in the office.
Yes.
Or is it 2 and 2 and they want the Friday off? I'm just saying.
Listen, that's what I would want. Come on now. Give me a Friday and
Yeah,
Monday.
I say let's just change it to 4 days. But anyway.
But that's the thing too now. That's the thing too.
Yes,
Like a
true.
lot of companies are starting the
That's
4-day
true.
work week because they're seeing that they're hiring someone for their expertise, right? And their knowledge. So if someone can get a job done in 32 hours versus 40 hours, isn't that a win? Right? It's
Yes.
not about the 5 hours.
That sounds like another show, Alma.
Sorry, you got me going. My millennials coming out.
That's okay. That's okay. So, how does a language actually affect us subconsciously? When someone says to you, "You going back to work?" or "You coming back to the office?" You know, how do the words, the play on the words, does that affect us in some way without maybe even realizing it?
Yeah, so I want to put you in the mindset of the way a microaggression can affect you, right?
Okay.
So it can cause defensiveness. It can cause anxiety for some people. It can cause a strain on the relationship if that continuously happens.
Mhm.
And it does not foster an environment of inclusion and belonging. So I
Right.
want to be very clear. If someone makes that one mistake the one time, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking
Okay.
about leaders and business owners that continuously say that. It is really revealing how they feel about work from home, and then it makes you question, well, I mean, did you appreciate what I've been doing? Like, have you thought about everything? Then you can go into the
Mhm.
downward spiral of, well, did I not get that opportunity because of proximity bias? Do you not trust my expertise? Like, you can just go
Oh.
down the rabbit hole. So that's why it's really important to watch our language. Our language
Mm.
can build, or our language can break. And so I think we
Mm.
all
That's
rather.
true. Yes, that is so true. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them, and I'll be happy to read them. Um, Artie is saying hi, Artie, and Shadanice is here, and I think
Hey.
Ingrid is here saying tell Cherie hello. Okay. Artie is saying the pandemic taught employers and employees a lot about getting results and that it does not matter where it's done.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And Artie, I'm sure you can attest to this, how now that is like a part of bargaining power and a part of obtaining top talent. Like that is now a very real question when recruiting. Is this remote work or is there a hybrid model? Because more and more people are expecting it.
Right. Very good. Okay. So, next question for you. Can you talk through some of the struggles encountered while working from home? There are struggles, we know. So, we're everyone I think that has worked from home has encountered some struggles, some challenges, I'll call them. So, can we just talk through a few of them? Maybe give some examples,
Oh,
personal.
absolutely. Yes. So I'm going to first speak from my perspective of
Okay.
my life as a mom, and then I am going to speak broadly. So I have a 3.5-year-old, right? And he has been known as the honorary member of HRKS, right? That happens sometimes when you are working from home. So what if it's a holiday, or what if because of COVID the school shut down, right?
Right. Right.
What happens when you have a pet? Which now applies to me as well. So those background noises, or getting lawn work done, or
Yeah.
having UPS come ring the
Yes.
doorbell, or all of us know the stress behind I don't want to say their name, but an internet provider
Oh yeah.
completely going out service, right? Like you now have no service in your whole area, and everything you were just talking about has shut down. So it's just so much stress behind technology. I
Yeah.
remember one time, Tanya, you mentioned like before we maybe could call tech support, it's a little harder now. You are tech support in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, it comes with a lot of stress in addition to wanting to be really great at your job.
Right. Absolutely. And or you named them all, I think. The doorbells ringing, the kids crying, the dog barking, the sirens. If you have, some people want to work outside on their deck, get some vitamin D, and the sirens are going while you're trying, the lawnmower is going. So all of those things.
Yes, yes.
But there's also struggles in the transition of going back to the office. So can you talk about some of those struggles that might happen, some of those challenges?
Yes, I mean, just number one, the struggle of commute. So your entire morning routine is going to change, especially if you live in a big city like Atlanta, and you have to now think about traffic. And
That's
I
right.
mean, this might sound a little trivial, but also an outfit.
No, I was thinking the same thing.
We don't have to coordinate a whole outfit anymore. We can just
Waist
look
up.
good from the waist up.
That's one of the advantages of working from home. Waist up.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No more yoga pants,
Just
right?
don't get up. Just don't get up. So, you've seen the commercials with, they walk out. I thought it was a Zoom call and people are there and they come out in their underwear. Yeah. So that's a struggle.
Yes. No, it really is. So you're talking about commute, you're talking about attire. I also read in a Harvard Business Review that when we think about a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens, women, and specifically women of color,
Mhm.
are not wanting to go back or return to the office, and that comparisons that they often would deal with, or the microaggressions in the office that they often would deal with, or um,
Mm.
expectations that you hear or interact with in the office creates anxiety for people. And so we also need to think about it from that diversity, equity, and inclusion lens, from struggling going back to work. Some
Yes.
people think about those experiences
Mhm.
before the pandemic, and
Right.
it scares them a little bit to go back to that full time, right?
Right. And you mentioned that what I immediately thought of was mental health, or mental health. Because that's I don't want to say a buzzword, but it's real these days. It's a very real thing. And it could affect some people. The stress, and we talked about the drive, the stress in driving and traffic. If you haven't been in traffic in a while, and, that could be a whole issue in itself, and the mental part of going back to work and you haven't been there. So there are a lot of factors that could be shows by themselves. We have talked about a lot of different shows here, Alma, that we can do
I
other
know,
topics.
right? It also makes me think about, Tanya, like our working style.
Mhm.
So, depending on your home situation, there may or may not be less interruptions
Mhm.
working from home versus working in the office. So then getting reaccustomed to someone just stopping by your office,
Right.
or knocking real quick to ask a question, versus what some of us are accustomed to now is scheduling a meeting or sending a text or a Slack before that happens. So it's just reconditioning
Yes.
ourselves.
And with that in mind, it's a good segue is people, our team. So let's talk about team challenges, because working from home, you're pretty much isolated. You're by yourself, as far as physical people being there. When you go back to work, there could be some challenges in actually building a team environment again, because we have been so not in that position for so long. Can you speak on that a little bit as well?
Yes. So now more than ever, team building is so important. And our founder and CEO, Cherie, I often hear her say, slow down to speed up. And it is never more appropriate than now. When people are returning back to the office, we need to slow down, right? To
Mhm.
really inquire on the individual, slow down, to leave time in the meeting to talk about various culture items, whether it's how are you feeling today, or it can be more in detail, like, all right, give me suggestions on what you would want to see for the next team building event. Let's talk through some of the struggles that you're facing coming back into the office. Like, it's time
Mhm.
to confront some of the topics or ideas that might be going on in the back of people's heads, because that's the only way we'll be able to address it. So making the space for team building, making the budget for team building, the time for team building outside of the office, in the office, but also remembering to be inclusive with those team building events to pertain to different personality types, different familial situations, and all.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Ama. I appreciate you stopping by again. I'm sure you'll be back before you know it. Was there anything that we didn't touch on before we close that you want to mention in regard to It's Not a Comeback?
PSA, so public service announcement. Stop saying it, everyone. So if you find yourself saying that, just correct yourself really quickly. Like, it really will go a long way to your staff, and continue to find ways to show appreciation for them being back in the office.
Thank you so much. Well said, Ama. Thank you so much. So everybody, if you need help with this or any other HR need or recruiting or anything you might need, HR Knowledge Source is the place you want to go for your assistance. So please follow us on all our social media at HRKS, our website, hrknowledgesource.com. Again, I'm Tanya Hawley. So happy to be here with you. Thank you so much for that vivid conversation. I appreciate you.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Tanya.
Come back and see us, everybody. Have a great day. And again, we are HRKS because we know HR. Bye, everybody.
Bye.